The system of money exchange between customers and vendors is great. The customer finds a product that they desire, the customer then pays the vendor with the money in exchange for the product, and the vendor receives money to repeat the cycle as a customer. Truly a complex and beautiful procedure that still remains strong to this day. But what if we could make it better? What if instead of the customer being guaranteed their desired product on purchase, they were instead granted a chance to receive the product? If they're lucky, great, they receive the product. However, if they're unlucky, they do not receive the desired product and must pay again for an additional chance. Does this sound like a great system? Your answer should be no. Obviously, this system seems absolutely absurd. It's safe to assume that if this system was implemented in any industry, customers would be enraged and chaos would ensue. However, there have been a few industries that have benefited greatly from this system, which you have probably already gathered from the title of this video. The gambling industry, and more recently, the video games industry. The intent of this video is to spread awareness amongst parents and gamers about the convergence of gambling and video games, and how this could affect you. Most people are aware of how the gambling industry utilizes this system. Customers can try their luck on one of the many casino machines, and the casino programs the machine with multiple probabilities for various winnings, usually with higher winnings occurring with a lower chance. Over the past few years, however, these aspects of gambling have been seeping slowly into modern video games. Suppose you decided to go to your favorite fast food place, Taco Bell. You enter the building and view the items on the menu. There's items such as a common black beans and rice, and a rare chicken quesadilla, but what you're really entranced by is the legendary quesalupa. So you walk up to the cashier and say, "Hello, I would like to buy a quesalupa, please." The cashier replies, "Oh sorry, we don't do direct purchases anymore." What? Menus are so complex and last gen, so we simplified the whole process. Instead of picking out your desired item, we sell loco boxes that each contain a random item on our menus. This is how gambling-like systems work in many modern video games. If a player notices an item that they want, for example a card or a character or a cosmetic skin, instead of buying it directly, the player can purchase a gambling-like item, such as a card pack, a summon scroll, or more commonly, a loot box. Usually, these loot boxes give players a random item when used. Wait, but what if I just want a specific item on the menu? The cashier smiles at you and replies, "You just have to try your luck." You think to yourself, this is not a good purchase. However, the looming aura of the quesalupa eggs you on. Okay, I'll buy one loot loco box. Here you go. You open the box with anticipation and discover that you have received a common cinnamon twists. Ooh, better luck next time. Just out of curiosity, what are the chances that I get a legendary item on the menu? Let's see, 2%. 2%? This is one of many methods that some video game companies use to push players towards spending additional money. Items are usually split between different rarities, whether it be with titles such as common or legendary, or star ratings from 1 star to 5 stars. Higher rarity items, which are usually the items most players want, have lower chances of appearing when a loot box is opened. Would you like to buy 10 loco boxes for $18? You can save $2 with this value pack. It's a great deal. Unfortunately, these predatory systems can have more adverse effects than emptying wallets. Because gambling regulation does not account for systems in video games like loot boxes, this loophole allows for the development of gambling tendencies to reach children, adults vulnerable to problem gambling, or even those just in a rough spot in their lives. Jonathan Pennickett, a 19-year-old, developed an uncontrollable addiction and spent £3,000 on packs in the video game FIFA while he was coping with his mom's cancer diagnosis. Kensgold, a Reddit user, detailed how he spent $10,000 over the course of a few years since he was 14 due to unrestricted predatory microtransactions and his own addiction to gambling. There have also been many news stories of parents whose child have spent ludicrous amounts of money in video games. Susan Breer's son spent over £3,000 in just 3 months on a mobile game named Hidden Artifacts. Susan Taylor's son spent over £2,000 on an EA basketball video game. Claire reports that Mini Golf King tricked her son into spending £300 on in-app purchases. These stories are plentiful when they should not be, and in most cases, it's not even the parents' fault, because companies can try to make it as hard as possible to track your or your child's spending in these games. They also do not allow refunds unless there is sufficient backlash from the community, which goes to show how refunding digital goods is simple because you are spending a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of nothing. These occurrences are supported by various studies conducted by researchers, which determine that there is a link between gambling-like systems and the development of gambling tendencies. However, several video game companies argue that there is no evidence of ties between loot boxes and gambling, despite the research and numerous incidents of exuberant expenditures of money due to a player's addiction. And just in case you happen to want to give the video game companies the benefit of the doubt, allow me to present a few clips. The following clip contains audio from the former CEO of Electronic Arts, one of the biggest video game companies, from a stockholders meeting.
And substantial portion of digital revenues are microtransactions. When you are 6 hours into playing Battlefield and you run out of ammo in your clip and we ask you for $1 to reload, you're really not very price sensitive at that point in time. Essentially what ends up happening, and the reason the play first, pay later model works so nicely, is the consumer gets engaged in a property. They might spend 10, 20, 30, 50 hours on the game. And then when they're deep into the game, they're well invested in it. We're not gouging, but we're charging.
For those who could not follow the gaming mumbo-jumbo, allow me to translate. She's basically saying, while watching a movie, people get very invested in the story after about an hour, which is the perfect time to pause the movie and present a $10 charge to continue the movie. We're not gouging, we're charging. The following clips come from a court hearing between representatives of the video game industry and the UK Parliament, focusing on systems like loot boxes in games.
Well, first, we don't call them loot boxes. I think that was...
Whatever term you wish to apply to them, do you consider them ethical?
So what we look at as surprise mechanics.
This woman is attempting to rebrand loot boxes as surprise mechanics. Everyone loves surprises, right? Oh man, I sure love buying a video game and then, surprise, finding out that I need to pay ludicrous amounts of money for something in the game.
I would disagree with the statement that Epic makes money from people playing it. The games, the Battle Royale mode is free to play. So
there was a story in the British press earlier this month about a 6-year-old who was using his uncle's account on PlayStation to play Fortnite. He spent £1,600 in a single day.
I'm not familiar with the report. The idea that you could spend £1,600 in a day sounds. I'm not sure that you can actually spend that much in Fortnite.
I wish I had the confidence to just blatantly disregard facts like this. The following clip comes from a talk given by the CEO of Tribeflame, a mobile game developer.
The tricks on how to monetize a game well. Some of you will probably be slightly shocked by all the tricks I have listed here, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later. Make sure that your games aren't too skill-based. I made that mistake myself. A too skill-based game, you don't get people to pay you because there's no reason to. So make sure grinding and paying are legitimate versions of progressing in the game.
I mean, what can I even say anymore? These arguments write themselves. With how bad purchases of loot boxes might seem, you may be confused. Surely people wouldn't buy into a system that is obviously stacked against them to make it as hard as possible for them to get the specific items they want, right? Unfortunately, loot boxes and other similar gambling-like systems have been very successful for the video game industry, causing loot box systems to spread to many modern video games. It's easy to be surprised at the incredible revenue of loot boxes. However, just like gambling machines and casinos, loot boxes can condition someone to gamble or buy continuously. For example, take this experiment, the Skinner box. B.F. Skinner, a psychologist, experimented with rats and pigeons by placing them inside a box with a button and a food dispenser. Among his many findings, Skinner discovered that if food was dispensed at a random rate of button presses rather than a set rate of button presses, pigeons and rats could be conditioned to press the button many more times. Although us humans believe we have ascended beyond pigeons and rats, this same conditioning unfortunately also applies to us and gambling, or loot boxes. Another element that can encourage players to continue buying loot boxes is the natural reinforcement that comes with winning rare prizes. Just like how winning a prize, even a small one, in a lottery, can embolden the winner to continue entering the lottery, getting a rare item from a loot box can embolden the player to continue opening loot boxes. However, a key difference between these scenarios is that from a lottery, the prizes you can win have real monetary value, whereas the digital goods from loot boxes usually have no real monetary value and cannot even be traded to other players. Before I continue, allow me to address a sentiment that you may possibly have. Why do people want a digital good anyway when it has no real-world monetary value? Great question. I will answer this question with another question. Do you like good food? Of course you do. Taco Bell is your favorite fast food place, but even if Taco Bell didn't exist, you'd probably pay money to have good meals. But why? Most people can get their required calories and nutrients through rice, beans, maybe a salad, or infinite packets of ramen. This diet, more commonly known as the college experience, is very cheap. However, you still spend more money for decent food. Why? Well, obviously it's because good food tastes good, and that makes you feel good. It's the same way with digital goods in video games. Sure, you don't need that skin to play the game, but you want it anyway, just like how you want to eat good food rather than sticking to the cheaper alternative of just stuffing rice and beans down your mouth every day. Finally, video game companies can add their own incentives to their games to increase loot box purchases. Common in free-to-play mobile games, higher rarity items are designed to be stronger than lower rarity items, giving players that spend large amounts of money an advantage over players that do not. Going back to Taco Bell, it may be easy to think, well, I don't need to win the Quesalupa. I can satisfy my hunger with cinnamon twists and black beans with rice just fine. However, what if Taco Bell, in an attempt to further entice customers to buy Taco boxes, made it so that the Quesalupa gives you a workday off, or increases your strength, or makes you more attractive? All of a sudden, you may be tempted at another chance at that Quesalupa. So if you are a parent, what can you do? You should keep track of what games your child is playing, especially on mobile devices, and if they have any predatory microtransactions like loot boxes. If your child asks if you can buy loot boxes for them, you should educate them on why loot boxes are a bad purchase and can be harmful. Perhaps even buy some for them as an example, to demonstrate the random nature of the rewards, and also ask them in a few weeks' time if they still value the purchase. If they do not, this demonstrates another facet of the lack of value for what you are paying. Most importantly, be prepared and put in safeguards like using parental controls to prevent your child from developing gambling tendencies or spending large amounts of money before they realize it. I think everybody can agree that parents should not lose their life savings to loot boxes acting as bottomless money sinks. That's what kids are for. If you are a gamer, try not to purchase loot boxes. I know it's tempting. For example, in this game called Paladins, I played a character named Ying and wanted to buy this skin. However, the only way I could get the skin was by buying loot boxes. Buying loot boxes unfortunately further encourages the video game industry to include loot boxes in more games, and possibly influence their design decisions to support loot boxes, leading to a damaged game. Maybe gamers should also reconsider their next video game purchase if the game contains many gambling-like systems, such as loot boxes. Remember that gamers can also rally together and make a difference in their games. The game Star Wars Battlefront 2 was revealed to have contained predatory loot boxes that clearly gave advantage to players who spent lots of money, so the community rallied together and pushed back, and the ensuing backlash forced the developer to remove the ability to purchase loot boxes from the game. In conclusion, you now know that systems that employ aspects of gambling are becoming more common in video games and why they are dangerous. Gamers, speak with your wallets and try not to spend money on these systems. Kids, don't spend your parents' next mortgage payment for nothing. And if that fails, parents, be vigilant with what purchases your kids may make on their mobile devices. Now I'm going to end this video before the video game industry sends ninjas after me. Okay, goodbye.